Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Bivins. I have the distinct privilege of serving as director of the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem, USA. As Yomaira mentioned, this May we will begin a celebration of our centennial year. We started as the Division of Negro Literature, History, and Prints in May 1925, opening to the public May 8th, 1925. There was a little celebration program the night before, but we opened to the public at the 135th Street Branch Library May 8th, 1925, And so this year, May 8th, 2025, we will open with our centennial celebrations, inviting the public to come and utilize our facilities and engage with the kinds of texts that they would have seen if they had come that opening year. So it should be quite a lovely experience. I've been at the Schomburg Center now for 5 years, almost 5 years. I started during the pandemic, so it kind of feels like 10. You know what I'm saying? The first two very much not engaging with the public, but dealing with the trauma of COVID-19. And so much of my experience has been informed by that and what it means to care about community, what it means to try to preserve archives and steward collections during moments of crisis. And so, Vanessa, your talk spoke so much to me because I'm often trying to figure Mr. Schomburg out. I'm often like, what was he thinking? Why this? Why that? But I'm also often trying to think about the people who came after him, were my predecessors, and who had to shape this institution that I think we all have come to know and love into something that is meaningful to not just the local community, but a national community and international community during time of crisis. To talk about what's happening now, where I garner great strength from, is the fact that this institution was started in 1925. Mm-hmm. And in 1925, racial segregation was not just something that it was the law of the land. And people had to build institution despite being told, one, that they had no history, but two, that there was very little infrastructure for them to do this work in. And so I take great pride in what my colleagues, my predecessors, those whose shoulders we stand on have built. And maybe that was too long of an introduction, but I just feel like it's necessary to ground myself in that work. I traveled to Puerto Rico earlier this week, and I always knew it was going to catch up with me, my lack of Spanish speaking. The fact that I cannot speak Spanish, and that I'm speaking to you in the language that I laugh and I cry in, and therefore I feel like it's appropriate. But I do think that some of these barriers, whether imposed, self-imposed, ways in which we have not built bridges, will always come back to bite us in the butt. And so I'm so happy to be here with you all, because I really feel that these are important conversations to have. And even if the language is somewhat of a barrier, we'll make it through, because we need to start. We need to be in community and conversation with each other. Mm-hmm. I say all that to say, I'm from Chicago, so I know people always are asking me, like, well, were they shooting from your windows and things of that nature? It's so interesting the ways in which people can cast their own views upon what they think your home is, your community is. And I think bringing that even to the work is something that is a benefit. And I'm going to pass this to you, Yomaira, so she can do more. Thank you all.
I mean, I do have to say that it is a real dream to be here with, you three in conversation. And it's the way that we wanted to open it, because even though the conference is dedicated to the memory of Schomburg, especially the Puerto Rico conference, and then here we added Julia de Burgos, Silvia de Villar, Jesus Colon, who is the person who helped our first collection at our archive here at Centro, and then obviously Miriam Jimenez Roman. We are 4 women who are leading centers and important publishing initiatives. And it is, and we're relatively young too. But it's some hard work, and it's really hard to gather us across our different institutions in Puerto Rico. I'm in East Harlem, you're in Harlem, and we only see each other like a few times.
You're so busy though.
I don't time. But I think it's really important, and you were at CUNY. But let's talk a little bit. I would love to talk about, if you want to talk about what it means to lead these initiatives, right? Like leading centropr. Someone's moving furniture upstairs. Good. O están matando una vaca.
Todavía no sabemos.
Yeah, that's tomorrow's dinner being slaughtered upstairs. Okay, out of control. So I want to talk about these initiatives and these institutions that we're running as Black women in the year of 2025. It's lonely work. It's hard work. So why don't we share a little bit about these experiences and what it means for you to do this, in light of the fact that we're honoring Schomburg and also these other important Black figures. And also maybe talk a little bit about Cumbre. I have so many questions. I'm going to also talk about this. And also point 7. Okay, dale.
No, sigue.
Yeah.
No, well, ¿están traduciendo a Darío? ¿Le están traduciendo a José?
Sí,
okay. Chévere. So in here we are trying to deal with
the
translation because we found at Puerto Rico, en la Cumbre Afro de Puerto Rico, another sister from Dominica that's doing wonderful, Barbados is doing wonderful work that says, how about translations? And I said, first, it's incredibly expensive to get translation in a Congress in Puerto Rico. We have to either cut invitations in half or, so we're trying to figure that out. But the other thing is that I'm really, it's incredibly expensive to create El CENTRO. However, I think that the best thing about leading El Centro is to find alliances, because without alliances, we cannot go through what nationalism has done in Puerto Rico, which is a widening process. I mean, the nationalist agenda from the left and from the right, you'll say that a lot of nationalists from the left are going to say, eres una vendepatria porque estás criticando el nacionalismo, you're being critical to nationalism and this moment of colonialism and, imposition of this and the expropriation and whatever, to talk about critically about nationalism is very difficult. In the Trump era, to talk critically about nationalism in Puerto Rico is very, very sensitive. Pero we have a long history, ¿verdad? Of a writing of a history that is white, that has been white. And at the same time, of questioning you as a Puerto Rican if you're Black. If you're visibly Black. In Puerto Rico, people talk to me in English. In Puerto Rico, people talk to me in English. Pero tú eres puertorriqueña. Y yo te voy a dar con la mano abierta en la cara. Yeah, you are Puerto Rican. Exacto.
Cuando estábamos en Arecibo, ¿te recuerdas? Tú y yo afuera de Toquefín. Yo y Mayra hablando afuera en Arecibo y una mujer viene y dice, ustedes son de Loíza.
Así the only place that is Black es Loíza.
And
When-
Mayra and I both black from different places. We like, fíjate que no.
O sea, from Vega Baja, from Carolina. And people are always like saying, pero todos los negros están en Loíza. So there is a way of getting us out of the island because we're black and of erasing us, through Black African Americanness because we're evidently black. So it is very complicated. Y es bien raro when you're leading a place like PR Afro in which everybody's black. Porque nosotros somos negros, somos negras, todas, ¿no? My project manager, Darian Figueroa, negra de Cagua, my communitary and communication specialist, Ana Josefina Muñoz Castillo, puertorriqueña dominicana de Barrio Obrero, because there's always that other, movement through the whole island. But it is very difficult also to be diasporic in Puerto Rico. To have Dominicans from, and to have people from other places, and to have people from the United States. Now we're having people even from Angola, Tabliwe. We have interns from Guadalupe and from Angola that came to the centropr to do internships. Es una cosa bien loca. So why is Schomburg important? Well, Schomburg is the insistence of Afro-diasporic view in Puerto Rico. Eso es lo más importante. And it is very uphill because of all these tensions from left, from right, from the new, supremacy of Spanish in the island that we need to insist in, from how are we going to deal with different languages, and also from nationalisms. I'm getting very angry at nationalisms right now. What the Dominicans are doing to the Haitians because of nationalism. What the impossibility of talking among ourselves because of nationalisms. So how to deal with that is really important for me right now. It is lonely work and it's hard work, but I don't think it's lonelier than my mother's upbringing as a single mother. Or lonelier than my grandma Clemencia con 9 muchachos, 9 kids, and being basically alone as a very young widower. So I think, and this is another thing, and I'm gonna stop. In Puerto Rico right now, there's a big discussion about Afro healing the African trauma, and to find safe spaces in which that we can gather among ourselves. And I think that is really important, and that we have to nurture them. But I also think that it's really important to understand when are you going to be vulnerable and to whom. I don't know, I don't want anybody saying me en el mismo medio de la Universidad de Puerto Rico, no. There is a lot of things, a lot of battles that we have to fight within the institution that is hosting us, constant battles. And also, there is a heroic strength that we need to remember. So it is a lonely and a tough situation, pero también es un montón de fuerza. And one of the reasons why we can do La Cumbre this big is for 2 reasons. La Cumbre Afro is huge. We invite people from 23 countries, and we do so many activities so that people go, but it's for 2 reasons. First, so that people can see the greatness of our presence in the world, but secondly is so that people get scared. And there's a lot of Negroes here. There's a lot of Negroes. So the presence, the mere presence of all these people from all these places, even from Europe, and I didn't know that there were Black people in Spain. All of these things is so that our colleagues can get really, really scared. So please keep supporting La Cumbre Afro. because we need to get them really scared so that we can sustain and continue growing our newborn center. Our center was just done the year before. Así que es bien importante ese apoyo internacional. Because, in a small place like Puerto Rico, we are small. I'm not saying that we are, ¿cómo le digo? Débil. We are not weak. We are not weak because we're small. Cimarrones were, they were small groups, and they, created really important, Maroons created really important grietas and unstabilized, continuously unstabilized slavery all over Latin America and the Caribbean. But the fact that we are there, and they would say that we're only 17.82% of a population in a weird census, will always be a menace to us because they will continue saying that we are not pertinent. Mm-hmm. So the opening of that presence is really important, and the fact that we're here is even more important because their colonial fear when you're doing La Cumbre also in New York makes it even more powerful. Así que muchas gracias. And that's why, I think that there's a strength in what we do, even if it is lonely and hard work.
So I have the pleasure of meeting you for the first time. I'm a longtime fan.
Really? And I have been reading you forever. And I wanted to bring you to Puerto Rico, but she said that you're going.
She did. Yeah. And that's surprise! But I say that to say that for the women who are leading, they know that I always ask them, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Are you taking care of yourself? Because it is really, really easy to be so focused on mission que uno se olvida de uno mismo. And so I always ask, hey, you hanging out with your peoples? You going out dancing? Like for those of you who have like babies and stuff, you all right? How you doing? How's the dating? How's happening, right? Because this is soul work. That's what this is, right? I've been very blessed that my colleagues at SUNY Press, Afro-Latinx Futures came out of the success of Diasporic Blackness. I had pitched that series twice to two different editors, and they were like, I don't know, and the book hadn't come out yet. And then Diasporic Blackness hit. And the new editor at SUNY Press, Rebecca Colesworthy, came to see me at my book signing event at the Schomburg Center when it came out in paperback in 2018. And she's watching all these people, and she's like, what? And I said, hey, I hadn't known her. She wasn't my editor. And I said, if you ever want to do anything about Afro-Latinidad, she said, absolutely. Literally, that was an email. She said yes, but it was done, which taught me to lean into the yes. Mm-hmm. Rather than convince and cajole, because sometimes you get so caught up in like the uphill and the we gotta put. Some people want to say yes. You lean into the yes. It's so much easier. Global Black Writers in Translation, which I hope to God we are working on something from this one. That's the next thing. Yes.
Yeah. Not the lead. She really leant into it.
Yes. That was a series that was pitched to me. Because I went to that editor, which you know, Jana Moser at Vanderbilt University Press, and I said, I want to work with you. I want to do something. She said, what about the translation series? Yes. And we want to focus on Black people. Because Black literature is the least translated. It doesn't matter what language. It is the least translated everywhere. And so we must do this. I'm in position to do it. That's it. But what I'm thankful for is doing those two things feeds my spirit. There's certain things that didn't feed my spirit, which is why I'm an independent scholar now. And so speaking about that, right? Speaking about the university battles, speaking about the egos speaking about being in a public institution and being dependent upon the New York City budget and a mayor who's gonna play with the library budget just for kicks. God bless you. Right? It's hard. And unless you have things that revive you, right? Managing people can be hard. They know better than I do, right? So it's so deeply important to find not only colegas, hermanas, no comadres en esto, right? But also to really identify what brings you joy, true joy. And sometimes it's hard because ego will say, oh, you can do all of the things. Do you want to? That's the question. Figuring out what you want to do. That's the trick.
I talk again, huh? So to speak to your point of joy, conversations like these bring me great joy because for the most part of my day, 90% of it, I am an administrator. I am doing HR and budgets and fundraise. And I'm like, what did we do again? Why did I get into this? There was a reason that I went on this path. And the business and the busyness of it can obscure that and make you forget why you wanted to do this, where you found it, where you were like, oh man, I think I just want to tell Black stories. You know what I'm saying? And I know I can remember those moments very vividly. My background is as a curator. I come from a museum background. Oh, I see you. I come from a museum background, and I have always leaned into objects and archives to help tell stories. And then, the circuitous route, and maybe one day we'll talk about South Carolina and we'll talk about public education and the connection that I made when you were talking about Black Puerto Ricans creating public education. The same is true in the United States.
Yes, it's true.
Yes, it is.
The same is true in the United States. And it happens in these very strange moments, where there's a little bit of freedom. And anytime we get a little bit of freedom, we're trying to make other people free. And I think that's real. And these are things, the reason that I'm here, I always have to remind myself, is that knowing that Black history has saved my life multiple times, because I'm like, why? The lament. I'm like, girl, get up, right? Cut that out. Cut all of that out. This is not your heritage. That's not your lineage. Your lineage is this, and so on and so forth. So when I talk about Schomburg, even, I've told the story about us starting as a division. Then after Mr. Schomburg passed in 1938, we became the Schomburg Collection. We did not become a research library, meaning a non-circulating library, until 1972. And that is because of the work of a woman, Jean Blackwell Hudson, who I raised her name just like I raised Mr. Schomburg's name, because she's the one who fought so that we could get the necessary funding to be able to infrastructurally do the work that we do today. And whenever I look in the past, there's usually some lady who has remained unnamed, who actually did the legwork to make the thing happen. And part of the centennial celebration, of course, is celebrating Mr. Schomburg and celebrating the work of our predecessors. But the reality is that my predecessors have mostly been female. And it's Black librarians, Black memory workers who made it possible for us to even know what it is we know today. And those are still the people who are pushing the field forward. And so I feel very much, it is lonely, I'm not gonna lie, because you can't be friends with people that you might have to discipline sometimes. That's hard. but I don't feel alone.
Mhm.
I feel very much in the company of people who do this work, who take this work very seriously. Um, I hope that at this juncture, though, what we're learning, and I'm just talking about Black women leaders,
Mhm.
is not to squander our pearls to swine,
Mhm.
and also not to kill ourselves trying to save institutions.
Good. I wanted to say this. With us here is somebody that is really important, dear to me, another comadre that is working with me. And when you said translation, yes, we work with 3 copyists at the University of Puerto Rico at the Centro. There's an archivist, Janet. There's a memory worker and an oral history person, Jose Jocelyn Angelica Vargas. There's a community historian and psychologist that is working with communities and organizing all the communities in Puerto Rico. That's Mariluz Franco. And there is Zaira Rivera Casellas, la amigui. Came with us to work with textualities, Black textualities. She's also the head of the translation department at the University of Puerto Rico, the strongest school, graduate school that we have. And Zaira Rivera Casellas does wonderful work. And that is one of the things that we also have to do. We have to work in community. So whenever I think of leadership, I get like a little bit confused porque en el centro we work in comadrazgo. You know, we work at this particular moment, all of us are women, and we work together like that. But also there's really interesting alliances, and what I call the impossible alliances. So, and those impossible alliances are mostly with community leaders that are, a lot of them are women, but also there's males. I told Yomaira, for instance, that she had to invite Jose Cepeda. Jose Cepeda, I cannot tell you. He will tell you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
No? He will tell you what he has uncovered of Puerto Rican history that he has in his house. This is something that his family has been keeping and safeguarding for 100 años, centuries, because the Institute of Culture was going to dispose of those documents, and he safeguarded them. So, and then, you know, there's so many other people. And another thing is this impossible alliances, eso de que los puertorriqueños de acá, no, you're not Puerto Rican enough, or I'm not black, or I'm too black. For Puerto Rican, you can't be too black.
Yes.
To be Puerto Rican.
Yes.
But these impossible alliances are what keeps us together. Tú sabes. I will always remember when I was a little girl and I was trying to do, I came to Cornell University to do a PhD because they gave me money, but I didn't know where Cornell was. I didn't know where Ithaca was. So they said, yes, you can come and study. And then I came and I was like, yeah, diablo, así que guagua se coge para allá arriba. How am I gonna get there? And 2 people opened their house to me so I could stay and come down here and study at the Schomburg Institute. One of them was Miriam Jimenez and Juan Flores. I slept on their house in order to be able to do the studies here. And another person is Arnaldo Cruz Manabe. I slept on your couch and in your house, and after the divorces with my babies, in order to continue studying. So we have to find there. It is lonely somehow, but there is community that if you don't lean on it, and I think that learning how to ask for help. Por eso es que leadership, we have to take it with, con pinzas, porque there are strong leaders, but we always have to ask for help. Mira, yo no sé cómo es esto, help me. When I was doing the Mellon Foundation grant, I asked for help to Yomaira because you know these people from the inside. I don't know, I'm from the island. And she was like, these people don't know what you're talking about, no, Mayra. Saca esto, saca esto, saca esto. And that community of people have been helping us to create the center. So eso era lo otro que quería hacer. It is important to also ask for help.
I was gonna say that, listen, there's so many things that come to mind, and part of it is, the least of all of this is my own journey. The first woman to be named director of CENTRO, right?
From the South Coast.
No, from Hoboken. Jersey, what up? What up, though? What up? No Jersey? Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Jersey, we're leaving here. Okay. No, but I'm thinking about what Angela Maria says, and we find each other here. Exactly. We're in the moments that we can find and encounter each other. I'm also blown away also listening to everyone and the way that we're thinking about leadership or leading these institutions in a way that is very Black feminist. It's not the same way that it's being run by men. And this is what I've been finding as I'm opening the books and learning about how to run Centro in different ways. But there was also something really interesting that you noted. You were like, my background is a curator, right? Mayra is a writer.
I'm a writer.
She got a PhD along the way, right? You were like, lo voy a hacer, pero I'm a writer, right? Writer, poet. And you're leading Perre Afro. You and I, writers, academics, you're leading these editorial projects, I'm leading Centro. We're all coming from different places, thinking about leadership in different ways. We did not wake up when they were like, I want to be an administrator. Because I think that people who wake up and think that are probably psychopaths, right? And then I was thinking about when we were opening, you I want to thank the Mellon Foundation. And we had said that Jessica Johnson, who's on the panel with me at Cumbre, had said that too. And someone's like, you don't have to thank the Mellon Foundation, they have to thank you. Which I was like, okay, cool, yeah, that makes sense. But the Mellon Foundation is being led by a Black woman poet.
Yes.
Elizabeth Alexander, first and foremost, a poet and scholar. And she's leading this foundation, and she has a commitment to Puerto Rico.
Yes, she has.
Okay? She was like, my family brought me here as a child all the time. I have a commitment to this place. And so for me, it's about not just seeing a robber baron foundation, it's about seeing the Black woman poet who is thinking, we're gonna redistribute this money differently.
Yep.
And for that, I'm very thankful. We're in a moment, right? And so I think that for me, became really clear in this conversation. And then the impossible alliances, it's so funny because I got to meet Joy. I took this position, and my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, was like, hey, do you know the director of Schomburg? I went to undergrad with her at the University of Michigan. I'm gonna connect you with her. And I was like, oh my God, the Schomburg Center. Because for many of us, we're like, the Schomburg Center, right? And if you're Puerto Rican, it's like, Schomburg Center.
It's like a sacred pilgrimage.
Absolutely. No, it really is. And I remember as a young person, I'm first generation high school graduate, so I'm going to college. I'm like, what is this? What are we doing now? And I go in and I learn about Schomburg, and I'm like, okay, cool. And he was Puerto Rican. Girl, say less. Boricua, right? It's very intense, right? Because I also with you the nationalism, but the cultural nationalism, it got my heart a little bit. So yeah. But it is this really important place for us. And I was like, I would love to meet this person who's the director of the Schomburg Center. And Joy and I met, and I was like, yo, she is a vibe. She's so fucking smart, so brilliant. Sorry I didn't mean to curse people on Zoom. But it was just, it's a beautiful, organic, it's incredible to see a leader in this position that's been there for 4 years.
We wanted to hire batuteras from Chicago in order to welcome you to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And she was like, why are you making so much fuss about being here? And we were like,
yeah.
What do you want? What's wrong? Did a mosquito bite you?
Yeah. We'll kill the mosquito. And it was your first trip to Puerto Rico, right? We were so excited. And Joy's like, I kind of feel a little weird about this. How am I going to do it? I'm like, Joy girl, just take a seat. Everyone's going to be so happy to meet you, because I think the other part of it is from within the relation, within the impossible alliances, I can see how important the Schomburg Center is. Puerto Ricans understand that. Black folks in the diaspora and here understand that. But oftentimes, even though we're only, less than a mile apart, sometimes it's really hard to see each other across that. And I know that in the past there have been connections with the Schomburg Center and Centro, but I'm like, now we're here. It's two Black women running these institutions. We about to run these streets. right? Like, we're gonna do it for real.
Running the streets.
We're running the streets. But I think it's really important. And one of the things, Mayra had mentioned the impossible alliances in Puerto Rico when we were there. And I mentioned, I think of it in this context, these connections that we're making, in the words of Bad Bunny, el archipiélago perfecto.
Exacto.
Right? We don't have to fit perfectly together, pero estamos aquí en este archipiélago, right? The sea of islands, as the Peli Haufa would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we're thinking through and with each other, which I believe is really important.
Yes.
Can you all say a little bit more? And also, by the way, girl get up, right? That when you were like, are you crying? Why you dead? Like, you okay? Every week, I think I tell myself, girl get up. I'm like, not one more meeting, please. Take the meeting and go take it up, right? But I want you to think about, like, what is your dream, your vision, right? For what is to come from within the respective projects, initiatives, centers. What is it that you're thinking maybe the next 5-10 years? No.
Ahora yo lo sé. We're going to conquer the world. No, we're going to. There's 3 things that we need, and we are to come here and realize that we have been thinking. We have been talking nonstop. Daria, Ana, Zaira, and me. We know exactly when we go back to Puerto Rico what we need. We need a place of our own. We cannot, we have grown so much, and then we have a little corner that we have fought very, very hard for, but we need a place, because if not, we won't be able to do what we need to do. I know how we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna call you all so that you can tell me, strategies. That's one. Secondly, the translations. We were just talking, Zaira, ¿verdad? Ahí abajo, in front of Jose Arturo's exposition that I'm so grateful for here, because we never get to see it. We're always working on it, but we cannot see it. We were talking about the need to move into an editorial line, co-editing, so that we don't get stuck in the island. O sea, necesitamos movernos. We cannot get stuck. The same thing with artists. We cannot get stuck. We have to move very strategically, and to house our collections in different places at the same time, because of climate change. We have problems with climate change. We have a place, we have had problems with the archives in Vieques. They lost it all. If the Digital Caribbean library didn't have a copy, that would have been wiped out in Maria. This is serious when you live in La Isla. You have to think about archival keeping, porque verdad, we lose it. And another thing that we just signed an agreement with Colombia. We have to understand that Colombia is the place outside of Africa where the biggest population of Spanish-speaking people of African descent live. Es Colombia. And they're ahead in so many ways. So many ways. Así que we have just signed an agreement with University of Cali, with Universidad del Valle in Cali, Colombia. Darío and now is here, mi mentor, because we need to triangulate with the Colombians somehow, because it is la puerta para el resto de América Latina. Pienso yo. We can go through Brazil, but Brazil is self-sufficient. Like, please, have my caso, and they will just say, obrigado. And, powerful population. They have more. Most people from Africa living outside of Africa. But I think that it is really important also to include, when we think of Afro-Latino, we really have to think about the diaspora that is not here in the States. Hay gente bien poderosa de Colombia en otros lugares, and we have to think about that. So what I wish for el Centro de Estudios PR Afro is to be an Afro-diasporic center that connects closely to Afro-Latino America, because it's becoming very powerful and it's under attack You all know what is happening specifically in Ecuador, killing people right now, killing kids. So this is something that we have to be very conscious of, and also a way to circulate knowledge all the time. So the colony is bad, but it has to serve for something. And I think that right now that the islands and the island states are being dismantled in the Hispanic Caribbean, Cuba, la República Dominicana y Haití, Puerto Rico stands relatively solid. Let's take advantage of it. Strategically thinking, I think that we have to take advantage of that solidity. So, in order to continue what Schomburg was doing, which was to expand this diasporic knowledge that we need to take into action, because there's a lot of power there in the hemisphere if we break the nationalist thinking and barriers. Eso es lo que yo veo.
I'm being inspired. She's the muse.
So I kept saying I play my position, right?
Yeah.
As a scholar, I play my position. And what that means is these are my strengths, right? Whenever I get a book proposal, I stop everything I'm doing and I write and I read it. Everything. My dream for both of those series is that they continue to broaden the canons across disciplines, right? Speaking of Colombianos, Afro-Latinx, I don't always laugh at this, I chuckle at the obsession with Latina versus Latinx. Because people, no, in English they did this. Latinx, to my understanding, came from Afro-Colombian trans activists who wanted to interrupt the binary, and that's why they had the X.
Exacto.
So Afro-Latinx futures, that's how I give honor, right, to the disruption. And that series in particular it is a scholarly series, it's a university publishing, it is humanities and social sciences. Haiti is included in there because Haiti is outside, queda fuera de todo. If you look at French studies, if you look at Francophone studies, Haiti is not there. And God bless Miriam Chancy, because she wrote a book on women writers in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba, DR, and Puerto Rico. No, Cuba, DR, and Haiti. And in there, she said, where's Haiti in Latin American studies? And so Haiti became part of my series. I'm very flexible, you see. We got 2 proposals recently about Angola and Brazil. And I asked one of my colleagues, I said, where do people write if they're doing Lusophone Africa? Because I know this one had a time talking about Equatorial Guinea and Hispanophone Africa.
Yeah.
And I said, are they, because if you do French Africa, there's series for that. If you do any place else, Anglophone Africa, there's series for that. Lusophone and Hispanophone, not so much. They said, we don't have a space. So guess what? So now, Afro-Latinx Futures is broadened to include that as well. My series is disruption. My series is recanonizing. It's looking at the canon, broadening it, strengthening it, making it sure that there is no ignoring Black people anywhere. Black Peruvians, Black Ecuadorians, Haitians, Angolans, Mozambicans, those from Guinea-Bissau, those from Sao Tome y Príncipe, Brasileño, todito. It is disruption. Global Black writers, también. Because I want y'all to know that there are Afro-Pakistanis, that there are people in Ireland writing in Gaelic, and there are Black people there. There are people in Mauritius, there are people in Mauritania. Those are 2 different places.
I always get the confused.
But just like the Dominicans and the
Dominicans,
yeah. It's a failure of European heritage and Catholicism, quite frankly, because they're both named after St. Dominic. It's disruption. But it is, from one perspective, it's disruption. From another perspective, it's making space. It's broadening, it's opening, right? So my dream is that you all buy these books and invite these authors, right? And if you know people and you're doing this work, submit your proposals. That's my dream. So that we have it such that nobody ever doubts that Black Latin America, Black Latinx, Black people around the world for both series. We are here. We've always been here. It's my way of making space. That's it.
After Joy answers, we're gonna open the floor for questions. Probably take about 2 questions. But one of the things I wanted to say was the easiest money I ever made was a bet on whether Dominica was different than the Dominican Republic. And some person, like some fool, was like, nah, it's the same place. Oh, is it? Let's put $50 on it. Let's go look at it on the map. Porque tú no sabes nada. And I made myself some money. That was great. So yeah, so thank you. Yeah.
Your character is just
Clown sound.
It just brings me such joy.
Really?
It really does.
Cara de payaso.
Oh, well, as you can imagine, I have dreams, lots of dreams. Sometimes wake up in cold sweats about Schomburg, but when
not the haunting. He's like, "Where's my book?" You're like, "I don't know. I'm gonna look for it." Okay, I have my book.
For the institution itself, when you paint in big, broad strokes, that in 100 years we will be here, and there'll be someone here sitting, telling you to come to the 200th anniversary of the Schomburg Center. So that's always, I think, when you come into these legacy institutions, you have one goal. Don't break anything. You don't want to break anything. And then you want to start to, when you look at things globally, and you start to see where the fissures are, where the things that could be shored up are, and what needs to be done. My dream for my team, because I dream for my team, I try to set a dream for my team, is that we're not always, I'm going to use a very southern phrase, running from pillar to post. That everything isn't always an emergency, that we've created some ease within, that we continue to create ease within our work, because ease is when you get a chance to dream, right? And so when you talk about creating space, I think it is to create space for the dreamers, but it's also to make sure that we're still that place for the learners, the seekers, and the creators. I think of things in 3. So that's one thing, because people really can't hold more than 3 pieces of information at one time. And also, the thing about the Schomburg Center that excited me the most when I really got into it is that we were always at the vanguard. Our history is one of being at the vanguard. It's the vanguard of collecting. It's the vanguard of bringing our scholars, our icons to the public. And it is really, I don't want to say that I'm hoping that we continue to do the same thing, because we'll do it differently. But that we continue to train people who are making impact in our culture, whether that's the culture here in the United States or whether that's elsewhere in the diaspora. And then I have other, I got a 3-point plan and a 5-point plan. And the ways in which I feel that we do really need to lean more into the diasporic nature of our heritage, language, making sure that that's covered, all of those kinds of things. But ultimately, my dream is that we are here and we are doing the vital work, and that we are continuing to think about who will need this material tomorrow. And that we create space for ourselves to dream about what the institution can be. Because listen, I could tell you about the building and what I want to do and all of that kind of stuff, but that is not the thing that moves people. It also is not the thing that raises money. The thing that raises money is vision and dream, and a dream. And my dream is that we continue to be ahead of the curve, as opposed to behind it
Mhm.
or running with it.
Mhm.
So those are the things I think about when I think about the future of the Schomburg.
Absolutely.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
Thank you.
I mean, as for me to answer my own question, I want complete cellular transformation. I want us to change from the inside. But no, like, I think about like our liberation, the political, right? Like all of these large things that I want to know that we are all on the same page where we see like the actual things that we want to change. But then when it comes to Centro itself, like I feel very similar. Like I want my staff to be fulfilled, right? Like I want them to like grow and learn and love being here and doing this work in the community. It's something that I have already seen in them, and I want to continue to see that. When I leave Centro, I want to leave Centro a place that is more resourced, more joyous, more open to the community, more responsive. I want to leave it, like, I don't want to break nothing. Exactly, like, I'm not trying to break nothing. I want to make it a stronger, more relational, more connected place with so many other institutes. And then when I leave Centro, I'm already dreaming, I am going to write. I want to write. I'm gonna publish with you. I'm gonna do whatever, I'll publish from my basement if I have to, right? I'll be like running the little print press myself on my phone. That's what I want. I want to be able to do that, and I want to live that. And I'm thinking about like living as Black women leaders. Like the institution, they kill us. I don't want to die at this desk, at this place. I know Mayra doesn't want to hear about it. I know, but I think it's important for us to note that, right? To note that there's a different way to do this job. And that we have to figure it out. And hopefully we model that for the next generation of Black women leaders who are gonna kind of take up the helm. With that said, are there any questions that y'all have for us? Any questions from the audience?
Allá hay una.
Una y dos. Okay, perfect. Can somebody run the mic?
El libro. The book.
Tatiana? Okay. One question here and one question in the cut. And we could take them at the same time. So one question.
So, first of all, my heart is racing because I was definitely a Black woman that was like, I don't feel like leaving today because I'm stressed with my own heaviness of not only being a mother but also running an organization. But this is exactly what I needed, and so I just want to say I thank you and I honor you. I wanted to thank Dr. Valdés for naming the Blackness. Like, I grew up here, so I went to the Schomburg. My mother was an organizer, so I knew Arturo Schomburg was Puerto Rican. But growing up, it was such a divide because of colorism. So I've had arguments when I left New York about Puerto Ricans also being Black. I'm like, I literally had one at ShopRite in Jersey over the show. Like, them kids don't look Puerto Rican. And so I often wonder in my own investigation as a dancer. Like, I grew up going dancing in Harlem and, grew up in the streets. I get my hair done right there, So, but I also wonder about the division and the lack of solidarity. So I'm wondering, with the colorism, with understanding that there is such an attack on how we understand ourselves within the Black diaspora, even the word Black, and how that is very heavy. Like, what are some of the ways in which you're working with the younger generation, which is the generation I work with, or not even the younger generation, even intergenerationally, to really have these hard questions. Hard conversations. Oh, and I'm sure right now, but Christmas, by the way.
Yeah. Vamos a tomar las dos preguntas a la misma vez.
Okay.
The all the way in the right there question. Yeah, te voy a traer el micrófono. Es para la grabación. Es para la grabación. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Antonia Manuela, and I'm going to be 81 in April. This is where I am celebrating my birthday.
Let's go.
I have never felt so good, so young, so hopeful in my whole life.
Okay, come through.
All the women that are sitting there have given me an understanding of the way culture should work. That culture should disappear, that you are working for art, for humanity, and how importantly holistic It is to work the way you are working with each other and that understanding that you have. Okay? So y'all better get on the book about this because young people have to learn how to do things. This is the way you do it.
Ay, qué lindo.
Colorism. Mire, see, the thing is that colorism is a problem for us, Black people, but white people are not the same tonality of white. Nobody, I mean, tú ves en Spaniards and the Italians and then the Irish and the Russians and the
The
and
Scandinavians.
the Scandinavians, they're not the same tone of white. And therefore, the thing is that we have to remember, eso es una cosa que es bien difícil. We have to remember that colorism comes from a history of making distinctions and implementing the logic of supremacy and the logic of domination, and I'm quoting bell hooks on this, in order to break bonds between us. I am not interested. I will speak it again and again, and that's why I keep on talking and invoking. Estoy invocando. I'm sort of a, tú sabes, yo soy un poquito bruja. Yo trabajo, tengo el altar en casa, and I light the candles. I always say, you know, that I am a Catholic with a PhD, and that I always invoke my ancestors, and I do that. And one of the things that I do is to remember that we have to understand the strategy of colorism for the divide and conquer, but worse, to instill on us a logic of supremacy that should not have any space, any place in our community. Si tú eres rubio de ojos azules, pero tú dices que tú eres prieto, welcome. Because you must be. If you were in the Caribbean, por algún lado tienes la mancha de plátano y por algún lado. So I will not question it, because I don't think that people of African descent, Africanness is not melanin. To reduce it to melanin is an oversimplification. So that's what I have to say about colorism, you know? And we always have to be going back to that and going back to that, y siempre estar diciéndolo, y siempre estar recordándolo, because you cannot say you're not Black enough or you're not Puerto Rican. That hurts. And that will really kill your spirit. Tú sabes. And that's another way of conquering. So colorism has to be addressed from the logic of supremacy. You have to break that and domination. Then on the other side, there is a logic of relation. I always go back to Glissant. Glissant is my guru, you know? Glissant says that compadrazgos, competes, all these things, all the way in which we build family and we build community has to do with a logic of relation, a fractal, reticular, connecting logic. And everybody has a space to be themselves in all their individuality, but they're part of, you know, this organic being. Así que that's the way in which I don't go into the tone of skin, I go into the logic. And if you see it from the logic, I don't know, it gets clear.
And I think so much of it has to be conversations, and I think you work with young people, new generation scholars, used to be 60. You're doing this incredible community work with young people. And one of the most amazing things about young people and adolescents and pre-adolescents is they're very stubborn, and which is, I think, great.
Yes.
But then they learn something, a fact or a fiction, and then we have to work really hard to either do it or undo it, right? And it's a kind of gift, right? It's a kind of gift, and it's a it's a labor that we do with that age, right? I'm thinking when you're talking about this supremacy, I think it's so important, and made me think of the colonial difference, right? Like the colonial difference is making differences in the hierarchies. That's so much part of the process that we have inherited, for better or for worse, and actually for worse and for worse-er. I'm also thinking about the way that colonial difference, that hierarchy of difference, or the creation of differences into hierarchies, includes the question of like language, our psyche, like in what Diongo talks about. And Ngugi says, colonialism is a cultural bomb. It makes you think that struggle is impossible, right? And that there is no ethics, no righteousness in that struggle, that you're gonna lose anyway. Why bother, right? Why not just pick up and then believe the same lies of the colony? So maybe you can at least get next to whiteness and power, right? And then there's also the hierarchizing of geography, and I think all of that comes into play when we think about Blackness. Part of the issue around claiming, for example, Black or not claiming Black, or claiming Negro, or claiming Afrodescendiente, or claiming Africano, or claiming, it's a question of language. When you were talking about the West Indian period, I remember being an undergrad at Rutgers University, Jersey Stand Up, and going to the West Indian Student Organization events that they were having. And it was a bunch of us who were in the Latino Student Council and all these other things. We went to the WISO event, and then the students on the panel were like, why don't you guys call yourselves West Indian? Like you Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans at Rutgers, you guys think you're better than us? How come you're never at the West Indian thing? And we were talking, and I was like, ¿Cómo se dice West Indian en español? Like I was like, we literally do not know how to say that. That's not something that we're learning to say, West Indian, like Caribbean, Antillano, this other way. But part of it is the language itself that separates you, because the language that you don't get it, like the language that they're speaking about themselves, like, oh, West Indies. Where's that? Oh, it's the same as the Caribbean. Oh, great. Like, why wouldn't you just say that? And so, but what happens is that unspoken difference made it seem like it was a hierarchy, when in fact, it was just a not seeing each other across the translation, right? And I think, but that's not to say that that's the only reason, because I think colorism is real. It's real in Puerto Rico, it's real here, and then when those two racial ideologies come crashing together, the one drop rule from here, mestizaje in Puerto Rico, you don't know what's going on, right? Like you are walking through a world where you're constantly being interpolated and racialized in different ways, and you can either claim or not claim things, right? So for a second, I can claim to be Black. I'm a Black Puerto Rican woman. I can't say I'm African American. I got literally zero roots here in this country, right? And so those are the kinds of things that you have to figure out. It's a constant calculus. It's a constant calculus. And with young people, it's so important to talk to them before that misinformation about who you are and who you aren't gets solidified. When it's still spongy in there, you can be like, no. Tranquilo, take a seat. You know what I'm saying? I'll take you out for like a little coffee later, or whatever you want to do, a Nintendo Switch, I don't know what they're doing now. I'll let you use my TikTok. But first, let's talk about this thing that you're doing, right? And I think it's the same thing with transphobia, homophobia. These are the things that we need to be talking to our young people about early and often, right? Disabusing them of the narratives that are being given to them. I'm sorry, do you want to say? Yeah.
So, talking about translation, one of the things that I said about Arturo Schomburg, two things about Arturo Schomburg. People said, oh, but he claimed he was a Negro, which is right. Jim Crow, like the early 20th century, he was a Negro. He also spoke Spanish. Entonces también era negro. It's the same word, right? Era multilingüe, like no bilingüe, porque también hablaba francés, right? So that second thing, he wrote an article called West Indian Composers and Musicians, I believe in 1923. It's all Cubans. So enough for me to go, oh, Tip, wait, when did the definition change? Because if he's writing in the 1920s and his conception of West Indian included the Spanish speaking, was he redefining? Was there movement to Anglophone post? What was happening? Again, that's a historical search. About conversations. Invite people to talk to your young people. I am available to talk to people. This isn't like a one-time gig, right? Like there's a reason I put drvkb.com at the end, right? You want me to come talk? I am available to come talk to whatever groups. I love talking to young people. I love talking to, I was the director of the Black Studies program at the City College of New York for 2.5 years. And always, I will tell you, God bless my young people who would come to me and they would go, this school doesn't have anybody who could actually teach this.
And I would go to the school.
Yeah, because I look the way I do, because my name is Valdés. Why are you doing this? And I said, give me 16 weeks. Because they were inevitably in my Black Studies 101 class. Give me 16 weeks, I got you. And by the end of it, they would go, oh, you're for us. And I said, now who's doing the they versus us? Not me. I loved it. Afro-Latinidad became like it was cute, right? I had folks coming up when it started surging, right? Right? Post Afro-Latino reader, right? Post 2010 and Juan Flores and Miriam Jimenez Lamán, right? People coming up and going, all these girls with curly hair claiming Afro-Latinidad, right? God bless you. Man, if you don't read her work, this woman is such a philosopher in her work. Like this, Mayra Santos-Febres. In her
We're
short
translating
stories.
Sobre Piel y Papel right now, so that's coming out in English next year. CENTRO Press.
Listen, look at faith in disguise, God willing.
Yeah,
so-
it's coming. Yeah, Fendi Fran's coming.
But so much more than melanin, so much more than hair textures, right? So much more than, and I would say, are you in this? Are you in this? Are you in this for liberation? All of our liberation. That's what Black people on this side of the Atlantic do. Because that's what we do. We educate each other, we free each other. Historically, it's what we do. Can we make it ease? A little bit more ease for all of us. So yeah, invite folks. We're all available. Again, my website was up there. It's on Zoom. Hi. But yeah, because that's also like sometimes like you're leading it and your kids get used to that voice, and then you're like, let me invite somebody else because somebody else can kind of get it. That's all.
I guess I come to this conversation from a different vantage point. My grounding, when I talk about language I laugh and cry in, my grounding is very Southern Black. And the idea of colorism is both. I don't speak about skin color without talking about hair.
No, you
Because I think that, and I feel like the way it's playing out contemporarily, even for me, is confusing in terms of the ways in which I think we are still in the throes of battling our own self-hatred. And that can come through many ways. And I feel like I think of it also historically in its entrenchment in our organizations, because I come from a very Black American history perspective, thinking about the, churches, sororities, fraternal organizations, paper bag tests, brown paper bag tests, these things that some of that was, of course, done away with through kind of some long-standing deconditioning, or if that's what you want to call it, during civil rights, Black Power movements, where certain kinds of aesthetics became more acceptable. But I'm not really certain that we got to the bottom of the thing. Yeah, and I feel like we're not, and we kind of talk around it because maybe I or you are okay with the color of our skin and the texture of our hair. That took work. That didn't just like, I got my hair relaxed, pressed, dyed, fried, laid to the side, much of my life. And I feel like even in my family, if you look at the kind of the phenotypic representation, is so different. And so we learn to deal with it, but I don't think we've dealt with it. And so I kind of feel like when talking to young people about issues of color, you have to enter it at multiple points, right? It's not just this, is this, is why you got a head of hair on your eyelashes. I think there are.
I was thinking about that.
I think that why are we contouring? Why are we doing all of this? And no shade, no shade. Just the ways in which things are being expressed represent still this underlying issue that we are still dealing with. I mean, it's what you said. Whenever you are gonna approach Black history, you're gonna unpack a whole bunch of stuff, and you have to be. You're not always prepared to deal with it, right? And so there are multiple ways to enter, and I think the conversations are different across the diaspora. It's a very different conversation that my parents may have had with me. The way I would have approached as a young woman or a young person, a Black person speaking Spanish, my head probably would have popped off my, that just wasn't that's not how it was acculturated. And so I am both, being in conversation with people, but also, we really got to get out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And really encouraging young people to move beyond the block, move beyond the whatever, to experience other people and other people's experiences, other people's heritage, other people's stories. I think is critical, and this is an ongoing project. It's not something we're gonna be done with. It took 400 years. It might take that long to go away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just want to say some last thing. When we were going to do La Cumbre, Jose and I, my partner in crime and in life is a photographer and a visual artist. And we were thinking, what is missing? And how fast can we get it? And we did this book. It's called Conciencia Cimarrona. And it took a long time to think that visually, the visual impact sometimes speaks for itself better than the words. Entonces hicimos una cosa, I just want to show it, porque yo creo que esto funciona. I think that this really works for kids. These are Black Puerto Rican people. Marta Moreno Vega, Marta Moreno Vega. She's from here. Africa Civiles, a person from Puerto Rico. Daniel Lin, but also, espérate, Sandra Guzman. She has straight hair and she talks of herself as an Afro-Indigenous. Willy Perdomo, but also, when I'm talking blue-eyed, the founder of Colectivo Ile, nobody would say that she is Afro-Puerto Rican, but she is Afro-Puerto Rican, Maria Reina. She has green eyes and straight hair. And she says she is Afro-Puerto Rican. Déjame, yo lo pago, papi. Y Salgodro. She has blonde hair and blue eyes. When I'm talking to you about colorism, we're talking about that far of a spectrum of Afro-Puerto Ricanness, So this is something that sometimes I think that this is a book that we did because we want to have the visual impact, because sometimes when you're talking about it, people don't get it. In Puerto Rico, it is true that you see blue-eyed, blonde-haired people that are people of African descent. That far away, the colorism can go, tú sabes, and we have to talk about it. Tenemos que hablarlo in such a way. Eso era. So I think I would love to have one of these. We call it Conciencia Cimarrona, and it's about the thinkers and the activists in Puerto Rico. This is just the first volume. But I think that we have to have one of these from Dominican, from the República Dominicana, Venezuela, and also, because I know that that is true, in the African American community. We know this, but we seldom see it. And we need to portray it because there is also like como un imaginario colonizado and static of what is Black. And that is really important to be able to see it in many of our communities as well. So it's really.
I'm gonna say that you guys reminded me, we're gonna wrap up here, but you reminded me of like one of the joys of my life, which is teaching Intro to Black Studies, right? To be able to talk to young people, to introduce them to this very rich and relational history of Blackness and indigeneity, which was amazing to see, right? And I did so in Michigan for almost 10 years. It was beautiful, you know? But another one of the joys of my life is celebrating Black women. And there's someone here that is that celebrated a birthday this week. Joy Bivins, happy birthday. And so I just also happy birthday, Miss Emanuela, also, yes. And I want to know if y'all want to join me in singing happy birthday to Joy. In English and then in Puerto Rican, okay? All right, there we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joy. Happy birthday to you. Feliz en tu día, amiguita, que Dios te bendiga, que reine la paz en tu día y que cumplas muchos más. Thank you all so much.
If you want to see the book, you're over there.
I don't like to blow all over cake and then have people eat it. So I'm gonna
That's
kinda,
Are you gonna wave it out?
I'm gonna try to wait.
Okay.